Awesome, guys. Glitton Things back again for this one's gonna be good. I'm very excited about this one. So often we have so many opinions, right? Like we're quick to jump on hot topics and we have so many opinions and we forget that there are human beings on the other side of our opinions all the time. And so I got my dude with me today, Kai, who has a wonderful story to tell, that I think that people who have questions need to hear. So I'm excited that he agreed to come on and share his story. So let's start, dude. I met you like 12 years ago in
It's definitely been 10 plus years. So
yeah,
I
12
want to say
years
like
ago.
2011, 2012, maybe somewhere in there.
Mhm. And you were going through something at that point. I'm
So,
gonna come. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, we lost you. Well, anyway, we were going through when I met him, he was, I think, just starting his oh, there we go. You good?
yeah, I don't know what happened. Yeah, I'm good now.
How old were you? That was like 2011. How old were you?
21, 21 going into 22. At the time, I wasn't actually transitioning. I was just telling people that I was identifying as a man and going by the nickname of Seth.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay. So that's the point we'll get to. Before that, how did you grow up? Mom, dad, siblings?
So I grew up in a mixed household. I had a mixed mother and a white stepfather. I have two siblings. It was not a typical household, I suppose. Where it came to, my mother's reputation was very prominent in the house. So when it came to how her children represented themselves, there was a lot of limitations. So before I started going by the age of Seth, or by the name Seth, it was just under the assumption that I was a lesbian. So it was a lot of different stages of people telling me what I was, and then me also trying to figure
Did,
out
yeah,
what I was.
when did you start questioning whether you were a lesbian or not at any like teenage? When did you get
First grade.
Oh,
First
first grade,
grade, I
really?
actually started to have a lot of social anxiety with the same sex group, but I was more comfortable hanging out with the boys and everything. So I would definitely say first grade is when I started to have social anxiety when it came to not knowing which group I was supposed to necessarily fit in. Because
Yeah.
my family also was very military religious, I had a lot of weight on my shoulders of expectations that they wanted me to meet.
Yeah, me too, man, and I did the same thing. But I didn't really struggle with anxiety. I kinda just always liked playing with the boys, right? So I didn't wanna paint my nails, I didn't wanna play dress up, I just wanted to put on some shorts and flip-flops and go run around with the boys. But I wasn't really questioning my yeah, I was a complete tomboy. I wasn't really, questioning my sexuality at that age. That came later. Was the same for you?
Um, I would say closer to high school when I've actually been to several different versions of school. So I went to Rome Catholic for 4 years, which um, coming out in Catholic school is not necessarily the most supportive environment.
Ooh, and
And
you
because
the
my
Catholic school,
grandmother
like,
was,
you had the uniforms, the whole thing? You guys
yep, I was
Oh,
not allowed to wear, even though it was part of the uniform, I was not allowed to wear the Oxford shirt with the tie and the I
right.
could wear pins, but yes, there was
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
a
Alright,
limit.
yep. No, keep going. Sorry, I want people to know what that actually meant.
Well, because my grandmother was the guidance counselor, she prevented me from even going to BOCES for mechanical engineering.
Oh,
So my family definitely had a hold of a lot of things that I wanted to do, but I was just not able to. So fully transitioning did not happen until after after I graduated high school. I didn't even cut my hair until after high school.
What how old, yeah, me too. How old were you when you actually came out?
It was eighth grade. It's very iffy on the actual year, but I was quite young. So eighth grade.
You came out as gay or lesbian?
Yes, I just came out as I liked girls because I didn't
Right.
quite understand what else
What
was
else?
going on. I just knew like there's this direction. So
Gotcha. Okay. So then, so what, you go through high school, do you actually get to date girls, or was it just like, I like them, but I'm not gonna be in public?
I did date girls and I have dated guys before. So as far as being public, I was always just socially shy for PDA. But I was open to like hold hands and maybe like do like a kiss on the cheek or something. But it was still all very new to me. It was
Did you have any
let's see,
support with that? Did you have any, like, friends, any of your like, how'd your mom feel?
my mother was in complete denial. So there was just no at-home support system whatsoever. My grandparents just ignored it, kind of, in their way. I did have a lot of friends though that helped keep me in like keep me what's the word? Not necessarily encouraged to go in that direction, but like it's okay that
Supportive.
you
They were
feel this way.
supportive of
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
my feelings were validated through my friends, not necessarily through my home life.
Got you. That's wow, that's so funny. My experience was completely different. Like, I came out to my grandparents and they were like, "Yeah, we know, pass the peas," and then we just went on with our day and everything was fine, and it was, it was chill. And I wasn't really out to my friends at all. Like, I had a secret girlfriend that nobody knew about it. Like, I had, a boyfriend that was basically just, the equivalent of a beard, where it was just like, we went to prom, we danced, we maybe kissed twice, and that was pretty much the
Hmm.
the extent of that. But it just, and I didn't come out until I was like, probably, I was a freshman in college when I came home and came out. So, yeah,
Okay.
2 totally, completely different things. Like, that's okay, I'm onto something here, let's go. So then you come out, you date boys and girls, right? Because 'Cause you're trying to figure out what's happening with
Hmm.
you. And, and so then, like, by the time your junior, senior year, where are you at now? Are you like, do you have a girlfriend, boyfriend? Is more things
I
starting to happen, rolling around?
toward, towards the end of my senior year, I definitely was leaning more towards females, but again, I was still having the issue of being called a female, dating female. So I took like a break from dating because I wasn't sure exactly what direction to go in. So, but overall, I just kind of bounced around from relationship to relationship for different reasons, either communication issues or you know
For
other
you,
stuff.
I wanna know, for you, was it like, and I'm glad that you said it, you just didn't feel right, like, being a girl dating girls, right? Because 'Cause we're ingrained that in order to date a girl, you're supposed to be a boy, right? That's what
Mhm.
all of our religious upbringings tell us, and whatever, that's fine. But I had that same thing too. Like, I had to look more manly. I was bigger anyway. You've met me. I'm like 6 feet tall. Like, I just, you know what I mean? And it just didn't sit right for me in my head, like, to date a woman as a woman. I did struggle with that
Mhm.
for a couple of years. Was that kind of the same thing? Like, it just didn't look right in your head when
Yeah. One things that is consistent with my childhood is the fact that I got hammy up clothes from my little brother, and then I also because my mother she didn't want to buy me the clothes I wanted, basically. So I had to work around with what I had, which I wore the old pairs of clothes from my stepfather, which were baggy, they didn't fit, but I was wearing boy clothes.
and that's not what you
So
wanted. You wanted girl clothes?
no, I wanted to be able to just go and buy clothes.
Oh,
But
okay, good,
because
yeah.
I went to the boy section, my mother basically said, "No, you're buying girl jeans." or you're buying a girl shirt, or this. So I looked like a little ragamuffin for the longest time just because I wasn't allowed to buy the clothes that made me feel comfortable. So I was getting clothes from all these different sources, which sometimes they didn't fit correctly.
Right. That's hysterical because my grandparents had to take me shopping in the boys section because I was too big for appropriate
Mhm.
girls' clothes for my age. Right. So I'm 12, I'm 5'11". I can't go shop in the girls section for a 12-year-old. Right. Like
Right.
so
Yeah.
my entire middle school, high school, like I had to buy boys' clothes because the girls' clothes were not appropriate for my size. So even you know what I mean? That's just what I was used to, right? Oh, she froze or he froze. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, I totally I get what you're saying.
Oh, okay. I got you now.
Alright. So now we're in your senior year, you said. So now where are we starting to get our own clothes and find out where are we at now?
Yeah, because once I was closer to graduation, then the freedom was closer. Then, so that's when I cut my hair. I was working at the time. I've been working since forever, it seems like. But because I was working, I was able to buy my own clothes. So I just wouldn't go too heavy with it. Like I would buy the jeans that fit with a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That was the simpy as well. For special
Ooh, we lost her again. It's alright, we're gonna work around it. I know it's Utica. I know Utica is, you know, I know how Utica can be sometimes. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this.
Yeah,
So
I'm
now,
upstairs and I'm using the Wi-Fi, so I'm doing my best.
uh,
But
no, it's great. You're fine. But so yeah, so you're buying your own clothes now, and you weren't going too boyish, but you were
I was
not running around
I was would then be considered like a tomboy, right then,
more than your
because I was
mom
yes more than
would.
what my mother would have approved of. Um, but I was dating women. I was perfectly fine with that. The catch was by the time I graduated, I'd already been kicked out of the house, so there was also no shield over me anymore.
Okay, so what he said is that by the time that he was 19, 20, he had gotten kicked out of the house. So there was no shield anymore. He was out. He was able to do his own thing by this point, right? That's what you're saying that you're already
Yes,
out of the house.
I was kicked out at the age of 17. So
Oh,
because I still had like I could still see my family, but there was no longer that dome of I needed to respect their wishes for my personal preference. So after that, I was able to do more than what I had previously done, which wasn't much. I was comfortable growing out my facial hair at
oh
that
yeah,
point.
let's when did you start taking testosterone or was it something else?
That's actually interesting because I was taking testosterone and then I took myself off of testosterone.
When did you
So,
start?
5 years ago, 2018,
Okay. So
and
this wasn't like, the end of high school though, right?
no, there's still a huge
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
let's go through
huge
the okay.
okay. So all through I'd say my 20s, I was bouncing around different cities, different relationships. That's actually how I ended up in Utica, just kind of palling around MVCC. So it's hard to really put everything down into like a numerical setting.
No, 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 I get you. So, like, the next thing that I would ask is then once you're out of the house now, you have your own you can do what you want, you don't need their approval, whatever. When does it switch from, I'm not just a lesbian. You know what I mean? Where does the click make the whole
I would say in my early 20s when I started dating dating women, but there was another factor added to it because I have dated women that had a baby. So there was another role for me to feel comfortable filling, which obviously I did. So
Right.
I was the boyfriend, but I was also like the step dad. So that really helps the transition of this is the role that I want to be in, this is what I want to do.
So
But
I have this is oh man, you're bringing up some good stuff here. What is it? Because I get called a man all the time, still to this day. I can't, there's nowhere that I can go that, because, I'm not going to put on the girly clothes. I'm not going to show my boobs off. I'm not going to do it. Was it kind of almost like everybody, after you started dressing more boyish, cut your hair, did all the things, started carrying your, did more people just started dressing you as like, sir, or what's up, my guy? Nobody
actually, no.
really.
It. I still to this day, people will still misgender me. I get very. My anxiety goes up when I have to shave my face. I've shaved it now because I'm currently studying for the ASVABs. So
Oh, good for
that's
you.
going to be
Congratulations.
that's
Yeah,
going to
we'll
be
get
the
to that.
next stage.
Awesome. Let's
But
go.
yeah, I met the height requirement, which was nice.
Yeah.
But I have always still, even with a full goatee mustache, I still get she. And I don't know where the disconnection is because I've also had people tell me, oh, well, I've always known you as this and you're always going to be this to me. And I've started cutting off those people because, like, you're not allowing me to grow if you're going to continuously remind me of where I was. So it was not a very it was not just instant, unfortunately, and like I said,
Man,
still it's not just
I'm on the other
instant.
side. Dude, I wish I get called dude all the time, like sir. Like I wish. Like I'm on the opposite side. Like everybody just assumes that I am transgender and I'm not. And so even if I say like, no, I've been a girl my whole life, they're like, oh, well, you're transitioning. No, but okay. So like I can't grow. I mean, well, I'm older now. I'm starting to get some whiskers, just biology. But anyway, when were you like, okay, I'm gonna make the full transition?
After the age of 25, when I was, starting to figure out everything, it still took a few years of me just being like using the male bathroom, just I guess transitioning myself without being on any medical hormones or anything. So I was just doing it on my own. I was using the male bathroom regardless because
How was
that's what
that
I
the
wanted
first
to.
time?
Yeah. So I realized I could have been risk at my part, but I was set in my ways. So and I used the stall anyway.
There you go.
So
Yeah,
so I was definitely trying to transition before I was able to get on the
before
medication
you
and
medically
everything.
transitioned. So
Yeah,
so then you said that that was 3 years of you just transitioning yourself before the medication came, right?
kind of. Yeah.
So you were
Mhm.
pretty like, you had enough time to just be like, "Yeah, this is what I want. I wanna go into the men's bathroom. I want to, have facial hair. I want to be called." At the time,
Mhm.
it was Seth, right?
Yes.
So
I have always felt like I was in the capability of fulfilling male tasks and female tasks, which I feel terminology has just been completely weaponized nowadays when it comes to gender specifications on every little thing. And that's why more recently I've decided to identify as non binary.
okay, we'll get there. Hold on. We'll get there too. That's gonna be
All
a
right.
whole yeah. Um,
One
as I
piece at
have
a
a
time.
lot of questions about that too, but um so I actually think that that's kind of, and you can tell me, I kind of think that that's like awesome that you didn't just jump right into the medication. Like you took the time to really see if this was something that you really wanted to do, that you really liked it, that this is how you see yourself and this is how you're comfortable.
Mhm.
Um, so now you're
Because
doing,
I had already been strapping my chest then for quite some time.
oh, you rapped, you didn't just,
Yes.
Did you have
I I used a couple different methods. I used the regular AC bandage. I also went to Tractor Supply and I found uh, it's special self-adhesive wrap that they use to repair like the ankles for horses. So I started using that even more, but I stopped because I realized that it was affecting my breathing.
Oh, did it affect your s I would think it would affect your skin. Did it not affect your skin?
No, not as no.
So what, it
Like
just
if I wore it for more than a day, I'd have like a little red spot, but nothing like a rash or anything
did it
because it
restrict
was self. Hmm?
did it rest it so it just restricted your breathing, it, like, held your chest like someone's holding your chest too tight? Like your rib cage?
Kinda, yeah. If I put it on too tight, I would have to unwrap the whole thing because once it stuck to itself, it was. That's why I like to use it. It didn't unravel, so I started to come into the issue of when I exerted myself, like running, it hurt more to run and
Right.
breathe while doing that. But I got used to it, and then I stopped regardless because I didn't want to do any long term damage.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that you don't know what that stuff will do to you. And also, yeah, too, I get with the ace bandage, there's no real way to actually, like, secure an ace bandage, like, to you. So if you wanna go
Mhm.
run and be active and jump around, like, I ace bandages are not built for that. Like
Right. It
like
worked for a little while, but overall, it was not going to be a long term thing.
yeah. Okay, so you're 3 years into this, and now what? Now you're sure you
Mm,
wanna go through the whole thing. So what age are you now when you're like, "I'm sure I'm gonna do this?"
mm, I want to say, let's see, 2018, I was 29 or 20, 28 or 29 is when I went to, it's the Susquehanna Bassett Healthcare Center in Oneonta, and I actually started officially talking to a doctor, which can be very awkward too. You have to go through the process of, giving out your personal information, like I want to, have my boobs chopped off and all this other stuff. But overall, like I went through all the awkward conversations for a reason because it was still what I wanted to do.
So even
So
just, like, saying the word boobs makes you uncomfortable, like, having them I can tell, like, it just absolutely just you're like, I don't wanna talk about it, I don't know."
they definitely were a huge source of my I'm going to call it discomfort.
Okay,
Um, my hair was the other one. So now that I can shave my head anytime that I want, that helps. But
yeah.
yes, those were definitely two of my main issues.
So you're getting on the testosterone, you're talking to the doctor, it's a little bit uncomfortable, but you know that this is what you want, so
Mhm.
you're gonna push through that and the anxiety and do it the right way. So now that you're on the testosterone, is that, like, monitored by a doctor the whole
It
time?
is. It is. So I had to start on a very low dose because when you get on testosterone, they base it off of like height, body weight, more specifics. I had another friend who had actually gotten on testosterone around the same time who started off on a higher dosage. So it was discouraging to see other people's beards grow faster than mine. And I understood why because I knew I was on a lower dose. But unfortunately, even after 5 years on it, I was only able to go up to zero point 0.3. So
So then
yeah,
what did you try why did you come like, did you I feel like I remember, did you try to, like, take too much and it was, like, affecting your mood? Or did I not did it ever affect
no,
your mood?
no. The issue that I kept running into was I was asking other people to do my shot for me because I still had an issue with that. So sometimes it would be late. So that was messing up my routine. Eventually, I did start doing my own shot, which sometimes I was also like a week late. So it was most of the time my own doing.
Right.
So,
So did it like, I can imagine you see some of well, you always hear it's that kinda story and the stereotype surrounding, any kind of testosterone is like you get roid rage or, like, your mood changes or you get a little bit more,
so
snappy.
Your mood changes ultimately depend on how you are as a person. If you have a short temper, you are going to be more susceptible to losing your temper because it's a steroid.
Gotcha.
If you're able to control it, it's not really noticeable. The one thing that's most noticeable, though, is your body temperature. It's harder to regulate your body temperature when you're introducing hormones to your body, or like foreign hormones, I suppose. However, when I went to go get my blood work done, I already had testosterone higher than my estrogen.
Oh,
So maybe I personally did not feel the effects of roid rage.
so
I had not.
you already had in your body by itself with not introducing nothing, you already had higher levels of testosterone than what like a normal woman would have.
Yes, you have to get routine blood work done to make sure that you're not uh, exceeding. Because if your testosterone is too high, you're at risk of blood clots. So it's
Gotcha.
very closely monitored.
Um, can you can you still go like how many visits did it take before the doctors were actually like, yeah, hey, we'll help you with this. We'll start you on these meds. What did they actually do a lot of like testing before you got on them the first time, or were they just like here?
There's blood work, and there's also they had the facility that I went through was very helpful when it came to name changing, and also like any types of letters of recommendation that I would need, or counseling that I would need, to make sure, because you do have to go through counseling to make sure that this is what you want to do. Um, so yes, there are a few different stages that you would have to go through, but it's all to guarantee like that this isn't going to be something that you regret. So they do
How
make
many
sure that they try.
how many counseling sessions did you ultimately end up going through?
I think only two or three, so it's not too strenuous. It's not like you have to be in therapy for months. They just need to make sure that you're not suicidal after you get on this medication.
So
That's really the main.
you do have to kind of see them after you get on the medication. They kind of check up and make sure that you're.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. All right, that's a good clinic. I like that clinic. Um, all right, so now you're what? You're taking the testosterone. You said you had to come off of it once?
I I took myself off of it.
Okay. That
Mhm.
no particular reason, or you just
So after 5 years, so from 2018 to 2000 to last, no, I want to say it's the beginning of this year that I took myself off. I've had so much going on as
gotcha.
a vendor and working, but it no, it was not doing what I wanted it to do originally. So being on testosterone, I then qualified for the top surgery, and then I got that done. My facial hair was growing in, but I unfortunately still have a menstrual cycle. That
Right.
never went away. And because I was not able to increase my testosterone, I felt like this was it, to the point where they were now offering me birth control, and I didn't want to backtrack that way. So
So wait, so
I personally
testosterone
chose.
will stop your menstrual cycle? Like, if you get on enough testosterone, you won't have your period?
It is supposed to, yes. You are supposed to start to see a significant dwindling amount, and then eventually it is supposed to stop.
Okay,
So
so it didn't help that it qualified you for the top surgery. How long into taking, the testosterone before you decide, "Okay, I want this top surgery?"
it was thick 3 years because I got my top surgery done in 2020.
Okay. And was it the same thing? You had, like, where did you have counseling sessions? Did they have to, like, blood work against all that stuff?
I well, because the blood work was always constant, so that
Okay,
was
so
just
that was
something
just
I always
okay.
needed to do. I vaguely remember having to talk to the counselor about it, but not that much. They wanted me to talk to a counselor again about getting on birth control. So chose not to do that.
And the birth control, that's supposed to stop your period too? Is that why
It's
you
it was it when at the time I my doctor was telling me about it, I was still on testosterone. I hadn't taken myself off of it yet. He had suggested it as an option because they could see that I was still experiencing this and it was making me uncomfortable. So they just rattled off all the options that they can think of.
gotcha. And so you ultimately decided
I'm like,
not to.
I thought to myself, well, I don't want to be on testosterone and birth control. I'm going to mess up my body somehow with all
Right.
these foreign chemicals. So now, um, it's been since the beginning of this year, and I take my face. So your fat distribution will go back to original. What happens on T is your chin shapens up
Your
and
jaw,
then you
yeah, yeah.
start to see your shoulder definition and maybe a little bit in like the love handles, but not much. That is the only thing that changed back, I suppose. Like I can see my chin is a little rounder than it was. It's not as square shaped as when it was previous. And then my voice is going to stay the same. My facial hair is still going to grow the same. So I didn't see a risk at stopping because everything that had already been done and changed is going to stay that way.
Okay, so your voice like a substantially amount lower than it was when before you started?
Yes,
It is?
yes.
Okay. So now you don't have to
I've
worry
heard
about
comparison videos, and I do like the way I sound now.
no. Okay. So you've done the testosterone, you did the
Mhm.
top surgery. Were there any ever thoughts for the bottom surgery?
There were, I did a lot of research, personal research on just risks mainly because I mean, no, the yes, I don't want to go on. I don't want to babble too much, but the
No,
risks
no,
were
babble, babble.
enough to, well, the risks were enough to make me not want to do it. So I had made the decision early on that I was only going to get the top surgery, not the bottom surgery.
Gotcha. So now really it's just about like, I can imagine that, like, you don't wanna go to the grocery store and buy tampons, right? Or pads or what you know what I mean? You don't wanna these are things you don't want to have to actually do. I completely get that. I don't actually wanna do it either. Um, but so is that's just something that you have to work through or just how do you
Yeah,
really, like, go with that?
I I I feel comfortable with where I'm at right now. I'm choosing not to be in a relationship just because I'm figuring other stuff out. Um, I just I don't itemize tasks by gender, I suppose.
Okay.
So whatever I end up doing, I don't put a specific label to how I should be doing it. Like a man and a woman can both mow the lawn. It's a
Right.
task. It shouldn't be a specific task. So I don't think about it throughout the day unless somebody else like visually said, "Oh, hello, sir," or something like that. Then I'm actually reminded, like, "Oh yeah, okay." uh,
So, like, you wouldn't consider yourself gay, straight, but, like, you're not going by gender, so then there's you just are, and whoever you're with is who you're with when you're with them.
I I thought so. I came out as pansexual also last year, and I thought that that was a good overall to describe me
Okay.
as a person. Another friend has mentioned another word, but I can't remember what it is right now. It's basically an intellectual base is
Okay.
where I'm at. Like if we can have a good in-depth conversation, you make me laugh. Like it's all about communication and where we are on an intellectual level.
Gotcha. I always like to take a break. I always think people, you kinda need to be single for a while, figure yourself out, figure out where you're at and what you're capable of bringing to a relationship, right? Like, if you're
Mhm.
you have to be able relationships are difficult, especially if you're trying to build one. You have to, communication, all that stuff has to be and if you're not good, then you can't bring to the table what you wanna bring to the table, right? So,
Yeah. So it's just better that I figure out everything with myself first before I try to introduce someone else to the mix.
dude, I think that's awesome. Uh,
And
what a journey. Like,
and if everything goes well, I'll be experiencing what it's like to be transgender in the military, which I have been talking to several people about that.
yeah, that's a hot topic.
Mhm.
There's I mean, I guess I don't think I ever actually met anybody transgender in the military when I was in, but I never even thought about it either.
Mhm.
So, I didn't think I see, and here, let me ask you this, because this is a question that everybody's jumping on, like, I think the the pulse of the country right now really kind of they're not really talking about trans men, right? Like, the
Right.
issue is transgender women mostly in women's specific places.
Mhm.
So, like, the locker room, bathroom. I I kinda see it as, like, it kinda looks to me like they're not really gonna give trans men an issue because, like, it's more dangerous if someone is a trans woman or a trans woman for
They
males.
I feel
You know
like
what I
the
mean?
news tries to hype it up as a predatorial circumstance when that's not the case whatsoever. So,
Yeah, I get that. I think it's just so weird to me how there's really no conversation happening about like, why is there no conversation happening about trans men, but it's just solely on trans women? That's what I'm trying to like. Because if you're against transgender people, wouldn't you be against all transgender people? But I don't hear too many grumblings about trans men. So that's where my curiosity is going, and I'm trying to talk to as many people as I can to try to figure out why that is, because I don't get it.
no, you're absolutely right. I also through social media, it's not really mentioned. I have seen more about people protesting drag queens reading stories to children, but I have not seen any news reports of a trans man doing anything that made it someone uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's a biased, lopsided opinion.
Yeah, I can see that too. I can see that too. I mean, as far as for me, I think the only feeling I have about it is like, just don't introduce it to my kid. Like, I'll introduce it when I feel like, he needs to learn about this stuff. For me, that's just how I feel. I have nothing against anybody doing anything that they want to do with their own children, like, uh, aside from hurting them. But like,
Mhm.
as far as I'm concerned, I'm not having any kind of sex conversation with my child, like, at 6. It's just not. I'm not.
That one I have seen. I have seen people going against and protesting like the school system criteria of how early of an age it is to teach children about sexual orientation, um, which I do feel like that should be. There's a cutoff. There's childhood, and then there is
Yeah,
after. There's the
didn't you feel like you figured it out? Like, I feel like I kinda just went through high school, started being like, "Oh, she's cute," and then
Mhm,
started having questions, you know what I mean? I don't ever remember being, you know, in middle school or well, maybe the start, maybe like 8th grade, you start kinda noticing, do you wanna go to the movies and hold hands and, like, you
mhm.
wanna kiss your best friend or whatever, but, like, before that, part of me is just like, "Dude, we slow down." He's still trying to figure out how to brush his teeth without dropping all the toothpaste all over the freaking floor, like
Yeah, there's no need to overload them with adult topics that
yeah,
they don't even understand yet.
right. Well, dude, I'm so pumped for you. I can't like, I mean, I think the military thing in this climate is gonna be one hell of a topic. Like that's but again, I don't think it might not be for trans men. I'm curious about this. Like I kind of don't think that it would be as bad for you as it would be if, the dude next door transitioned to a female and then wanted to be in a female barracks. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think you're gonna see it the same way. It's interesting.
It is, and it's definitely something that I has piqued my interest a lot because I don't want to be selected out for any reason. Um, if I'm incapable of performing the male expectations, I don't know if I'm going to have an issue with just meeting the female expectations, I suppose.
Oh, so you're gonna take the PT test and all that stuff by the man standard.
Yes, that is my plan.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I'm preparing myself to put a lot of weight on my shoulders, but I also feel like I have the capability of going into that position.
Can you be on testosterone in the military?
I don't know.
I don't either. I remember getting randomly drug tested and they somehow I was always on that list because I'm gigantic, but I don't know if you can actually be I don't know. I don't know what they do with
Tomorrow I talk to the recruiter again. I bring them my social, my ID, and my birth certificate, which I've already had to explain to them that my birth certificate has my dead name on it. My social and my ID have everything updated. So I'm gonna definitely, it's going to be a conversation that we have tomorrow for me to figure out exactly where this, because they said that something, my previous name may be an alias,
Oh,
or my current name might be an alias. So that is something I have to nail down in
did you have to
conversation.
change your birth certificate name too?
So the Susquehanna Bassett Healthcare Center, they have a team of like lawyers to help you, like lawyers in training. They just want something, to help with. So I was able to give all my paperwork and filter all that through them. So they helped me change my birth certificate. They helped me change my social and all that. But I have four birth certificates with my dead name on it. I don't actually have one with my updated name.
Oh, so the dead name is the name that when before you transitioned.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
And then yeah, I mean, I guess for the like, jeez, I don't. This is gonna be interesting. I'm kind of excited and curious to hear what your recruiter is gonna say and what you got any fears about that or fears of going into the.
Uh, I mean, general fears of just not being able to live up to my own expectations. Um, they say there's like hazing and they're going to break you down to build you up. So I'm okay with that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say hazing. I mean, but listen, I don't know about the boys. I wasn't in the boys' room. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. The girls, we were freaking tired. We went to bed. Like, so I don't know what
The word was
testosterone.
brought up, and I only think of hazing. I'm like, hazing is like bullying for high school. So maybe it's just like bullying. Huh.
I mean, your DIs are gonna like when you go to basic, like your DIs are gonna they're gonna break you. Like, and you just kind of have to let it happen. And yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, no, ma'am. Then if you have to, you just have to. Otherwise, it's going to be miserable. It will
In
be
my experience,
miserable.
I can dissociate pretty easily. Sometimes I
Yeah,
do
do
it
that.
by accident. So I have already come to the conclusion that there have been certain things said to me throughout my life that will make it so I don't even hear
Yeah,
anything that they're screaming at me.
just remember that they don't hate you. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're
They're,
trying to make you better. It's not I mean, some of them they might hate because some of the douchebags that I went with were just douchebags, but, like, for the most part, if you're just a good soldier,
Mhm.
and just keep your head down and do the shit you're supposed to do and don't say anything other than yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, and answer direct questions directly, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Like, it's, um, yeah,
because I know that they wouldn't do anything malicious. What
no,
they are doing is supposed to psychologically make you stronger
yeah,
in a given
it
situation.
does.
So
It's
that
an
I can
experience.
handle.
I loved basic training. I'm good. Tell me what to do. I don't have to think for myself right now. Like, I don't have to think
I'm
about what
excited.
I'm wearing. Yeah,
I'm excited because I'm very active. So if you tell me that I need to be up at
yeah,
for a
let's go.
I'm I'm okay with that. All
Yeah,
right, let's go for a run. Let's go do something. My overall goal is to have my own homestead
right.
and have my own farm and have my own garden. I would be perfectly content with that. So me being in a constantly active situation will, I feel like, be very beneficial for me.
Better for you. That's
Mm.
do you have to declare, like, do you have to declare yourself? Like, does everybody have to know that you're trans if you go
I
in
won't I won't know that information until I get more
from
information
your
from the
recruiter?
recruiter tomorrow.
Dude, I'm gonna have to have you back on and,
Yeah.
ask all these questions again because I now you just gave me more questions I need answers to. But,
Well,
yeah,
it would definitely be helpful if you wanted to send me a list and then I can like pre-prepare
yeah, I
um,
probably should do
my
that, huh?
responses.
Ah,
But
man. Listen, just talking is fun. It's just it you know what, too, and half the time I don't know until you start talking that that's a question I wanna ask. So, like, you know what I mean? It just kind of goes where it goes. But,
right,
um,
I've
yeah,
just
that
been
was a
playing
good.
with my stubble this whole time because I've started shaving on my own because
Oh,
I
that's
wanted
fine.
to
We
do
all
it on
have.
my terms. I shaved
Uh,
like 10 years off my face.
uh, li listen, when Jeff shaves his face, he looks like he's a 10-year-old boy, so that's why he never does it either. Because he's like, "I look like I'm 12." I'm like, "You do." So,
I just keep telling myself the uniform will help. The uniform will help.
it is. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, when you go, that's when you find out if you were made for it or not. There's no other way, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You just gotta go do it, yeah.
When they asked me, they're like, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I'm not going to know my potential until I start somewhere." So my practice score was at 17%, which they had to explain to me it's not out of a normal percentage. So they said males usually score about 5 to 15 points higher, like in the closer to the 30s. So
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I'm like
Platform.
halfway there. So they've given me all the information to basically help me study until the next time I take the test.
Okay. Awesome. I love it. Well, I hope that you'll let me follow your journey. I do, well, I definitely wanna get into the non-binary thing, but I don't think my brain can handle it right now. I need carbs. I gotta go eat something.
That's okay.
But yeah, if you got a couple weeks, I'd love to, like, kinda keep in touch with you and see what else comes up after you talk to the recruiter and see where you're
Yeah, no,
headed.
that'd be fantastic. My secondary plan, if that doesn't work out, I just self-commissioned my own coloring book.
Oh,
So I'm also in the process of trying to get that self-published and copyrighted. So I have a lot up in the air right now, but I have a
alright.
lot of like plan B, plan C, plan D. That's all planned out. So if this doesn't work, I have other options to go to.
Awesome. Dude, I wish you nothing but the best. You're a great human being, so I'm glad you did this, and I hope that you felt comfortable, um, for most of the time.
Yes, no, no, I did. I'm just awkward at new things. That's all. But I'll get better.
No, it's good. Oh, it was great. You're great. Babe, you wanna pop on and,
Yeah.
There's definitely more childhood stories that I could fill up a
yeah,
whole podcast.
yeah.
Well, that's what I would love to talk about more next time we have time. I would love to dive in more about how you your mental health during figuring out that you were trying to figure out who you were and how different you felt. I know you didn't have the support from, your parents, and it was very much like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And so I would love to hear you know, more on that. And if you can explain like what those feelings were when you felt like you weren't yourself, or you were like the beginning process of trying to figure out who you were and who you are. So
Okay.
I would love for you to like dive into that more of like, you know, when did you first feel like you weren't, and then how did that feel, and who was the first one you told, and like who was the first one that supported you, you know, like that. I would love to kind of hear that story of like, and then going through being a teenager and dealing with high school and all of those hormonal changes that we go through, and how difficult that is on top of, you know, your feelings and trying to figure out who you were. Like, so I would love to kind of like get into that a little bit more to tell your story. I think that would be very insightful um to so many people watching, to just
So
humanize you
we're
more. And
we're all agreed that there's gonna be Kai episode 2, so that's
yes.
awesome.
Yes,
Yes,
I
absolutely.
passed the test.
100.
I would love to dive into all that. Like I said, I could fill hours worth of different childhood experiences. So if you would like to plan another one, I'm definitely on board.
Awesome,
Yeah, and
awesome.
I think because what it does is, you know, very much what Garrett said in the very beginning, is that it humanizes you. And I think it's very difficult for a lot of people to see the humans behind the journeys when social media and certain people are not portraying that and are showing a very different side to, whether it's a made up journey, whether it's a popularity journey, whether it's a negative journey, you know. And I think that your journey humanizes that there are humans that are genuinely just trying to figure out who they are, and they might look a little different than when they were 5 or 10 and who doesn't want to grow? You know, we
Mhm.
all don't look the same as we did when we were 2 and 5 and 6 and 10 and 12 and all of this stuff. But I think what happens is that the conversations and the media and the news and TikTok and Instagram, that, you know, also like Garrett was saying, as a parent, it's very scary for us to see this type of stuff that is being forced on our children, you know. But
It's overwhelming.
yeah, and
It's
your
extremely overwhelming.
humanizes the fact of like, this is how I felt. I am a human and this is my journey. And I just think
Mm.
it takes away from like like you said, overwhelm of what the media says. And so I think we need to have more of these conversations, and also coming from a place of like, I'm genuinely just curious and I just want to ask questions. It's not judgment. It's not pressure to try to be somebody that you're not. It's literally like, hey, can you explain this to me more? Would love for you to share
Mhm.
your story. And so the fact that you made some time for us to do this and
I
to share
really
your story,
appreciate this, dude, seriously, like, I'm super
yeah,
excited to talk to you again, and
means a
we'll
lot. Definitely means a lot.
as
And
long
can't
as
wait
you're
to,
willing to keep talking,
yeah,
we're willing to ask all the questions, so
yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
alright, dude.
All
For
right.
sure.
Thank you so much.
All
All right. We'll see
right.
you soon.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.